Hi everyone, and welcome to the sixth episode of this wonderful FlutterFlow course. So today will be an interesting tutorial which is about app state, and I think it is somehow different and new to you, and it is somehow complicated. But with this wonderful and easy to understand example, you will get everything in the most or in the least time possible. So let's try and see how it works and what we can do with an app state. So let's start. So here I have a list. So this says expand. So when I click on expand, nothing happened because this widget is already expanded. But if I click on don't expand, so it will shrink, it will reduce its size, and it will only show the icon. So it's somehow like a sidebar. So you see right here. So for example, this is a sidebar. If I double click on that, so it will do the same as here. So this is also a sidebar. So if so this is for sidebar is, and here we have assertion app state that tells this container to change its size whenever you click on one of these buttons. So this, or here we have a specific app state. So here we have a different app state, which is to show or hide this circle image. So let's try to show it. So it is already shown, nothing will happen, but once you have clicked on hide, it will disappear, and if you click again on show, it will show up. So this is a new app state that is responsible for showing or hiding objects. In this case, it is working with an image. So here, and finally, actually, we have an app state that is working for text. And by the way, you can make app state for pretty much everything you think of, but I have just worked with the basic stuff. So this is a text app state, so I will try that. So if I click on Jack, so I will have Jack here. If I click on Maria, then I will have a new app state. So this is basically what an app state is. And now I will go back to FlutterFlow and I will try to, actually this is my project, so I will try to delete everything. I will try to delete everything and I will start with you from scratch. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe. So just take a little bit of time, subscribe to this channel, and if you want to be updated whenever I post a new video on this channel, then you can turn on the bell icon so you'll be the first one to be notified. So do that now and let's get going. So I will try to delete everything here. So I will delete that and then I will start from scratch. So basically here we have the home page. I'm not going to go into details because we saw this in many other episodes. So I will add a column. So inside that column, and actually we had that container with 4 rows and 4 icons and 4 text. So let's add that container, and that container had something below that. So we had this container, so I'll expand that. So we have this container and these 2 buttons. So this is a container, which is this one, and this is a row. So these 2 buttons belongs to a row because the ones is next to the other one. So that's why I will under this container I will add a row, an empty row, and I will fill it later on. So this container I wanted to take the full width of this page. So this is the width of the page in our case, so it is 390, or you can just click here and it will take it automatically without you having to change that. But you may want to do that because we will use that later on. And for the height, I can take 300. 300 is cool. So no, it's not cool. It's not going to give me enough space to play around in. So I will make it this higher. So this is cool, and inside this row, which is this one, I will add these 2 buttons. So I will add a button, and then I will try to duplicate that button. So here we have a button, but I want them to be a little bit in the center. To do that, select the row, go down, and then change this option or this one. So this one is cool, and I want to change the color of this one as well as the text inside of that button, or make it success. And then I will go up here and say right, don't expand, and this I will try, or I will write expand. So here we have our row. We want it to be a little bit this. We want some space in here. I will select that row and add some padding on the top of it. So it will take the both buttons and take them away from the container. And now we are good to go. So inside that container, we are going to add these guys right here. So, and just to explain to you, this is a row because one is next to the other one, just like how we did with these two buttons. So this is a row of an icon and a text. This is a row again, and for the same for these two rows here. So to inside that container, actually before adding the rows, we need to add a column because a column will contain all of the rows. So the first thing to add is a column, and inside that column we add the first row. And inside that row we have here an icon and a text. So I'm going to search for icon. Actually you have two kinds of icons, but I will choose this one because it's not a button, it's not clickable, but this one is clickable. So we only need this one, and also we need to add a text. This is our first row, and we want to take the text away from this. So this way we are going to add a padding. So we are going to add 50, for example, and we want to make this icon a little bit bigger. So I want to make it for example 50, and this one too I want to make it a little bit bigger, so 50 as well. So it's too big, so I will add 30. So I maybe use 40 or 35. So that's cool. So as you can see, they are close to the edge of the container. That's why this is our container, and its child, I want to take its child and add some padding. So its direct child is the column. I will add a padding on the top. We add 10 and also 10 on the left. So they are away a little bit away from the edges of that container. So here is my row. So I don't want to keep building each row individually, so I will just duplicate one of them. So I will try to duplicate that 4 times, or yes, I can do that 4 times, or maybe just 3. So it's just an exercise, or maybe I can add 4, it's not a problem. So we may have some issues, so that's why I want to go back to the container and make it a little bit higher than that. So I will add, for example, 230 or just 220. That's cool. So this is all we want. I may want to play around with these icons. I may want to change them just randomly, just to make a bit of difference between all the icons. So change this last one, and maybe I will add the Amazon logo, and we are good to go. So I can just here we have some issue. Go back to the container, and then I will add 10 pixels. So I may add another 10 pixels. So this is the last size. I don't want to make further changes because that's a little bit annoying. So now we have our design. Now it's time to discover this section of FlutterFlow, which is upstate. So I already have some upstates here, so I will delete them. We'll delete all of them. So and the third one, then I can add another upstate variable. So they will. So I want to before doing that, I want to explain to you what it will do. So this, or the upstate that we are going to add, will be responsible for changing the size of this container. So if I click on dot expand, so the size of that container changed. And also this we had, for example, at the beginning we had this hello world text, but once we have clicked on dot expand, they were hidden. So the upstate that we are going to work with, or that will be responsible for doing this action, will do two things. The first one is to decrease the size of the container, and the second thing is that it will be responsible for hiding all of the texts, or the texts we had here. So let's do that. So I will go back to my upstate and we'll add another upstate. So as I told you, this upstate will not be a string. A string is a text, but we wanted to make it an integer. An integer is just a number. So for example, 10 to 20, these are integers. So I want to add, let's call it size, or just width, because we are going to work only with this option right here. So at the beginning, so they may ask you for a default value. So at the beginning of your app, how much you want that app state to be. So in this case, how much or how width or how wide you want your container to be. So it's up to you, but for me, I will choose, as I told you, I want it to be expanded. That's why I want to take the width of the screen. That's why I will go back to my widget or my app state, and I will add 390. So at the beginning of your app, your container will be, or you will take the full width of the screen. So now let's play around with the logic. So or go back to widget tree and select this container. So as you see here, so you need to think what is changing when we click on this button. So the only thing that is changing is the width of the container. So let's select that container and go to its width and try to find out what we can change. So here we have a static value, which means that we have given that value and it's not going to change no matter what. But we wanted to change over time, or we wanted to change if we click on these buttons. To that, so you will have to click on this one, because this, as I told you, the static value is not gonna be changed. But once you have clicked on this icon, so you will have some options. You wanted to change accordingly to a certain change in your app. So to make things easier, so I will select that and I will select app state. So they give you the width. So what do I mean by this is that is simply, so let me explain to you. So this means that the width of the container will not depend on the value you put. So it's not going to be 240 or 100 or 1 pixel. It doesn't depend on that. Instead, it depends on this one. So if you add, for example, 100 here, it will be 100. For example, it will. I will go back to the container, and you will find that 100 will be here, because the width is this one and this one is 100. So that's what doing by a variable. So this value will depend based on what you add right here. So to help you understand that, I will try to run that, and then you will see the changes I have made. So let's wait for a little bit, and actually I will skip that for now. So here we have our messy result. So let's go and fix that. The reason is that happening is because this is the column. So this is the father column or the parent column, and this is the problem. This is what makes the problem, because it takes all of its children and puts it in the middle. But if I choose this option and actually went and reload that, we won't have that. All of this container and also its children will be on the left side of the screen. So let's try that. So here you see, so we have fixed that, and all I want you to understand is that the changes you or I made here affected the size of the container, because let's say if I added for example 150, and then if I reloaded that, then that container will be a little bit wide than it was previously, because whatever changes you make here, you make it right here. So if you add 150 in the app stage, you will add it here, and the size of that container will be changed. So let's see. So it is a little bit bigger than it was. So that's what an app state does, and that's how you can play around with that. So now I want to go to a little bit inside the logic. So we saw that what buttons are. So we saw that in the previous episode. You can check it if you want. So this is a button. I want to click on that button, and if I clicked on that button, I want the size of the container to take the whole width of the screen. So to do that, we are going to add an action, and this is not going to be a navigate to action like we saw previously. Instead, it is going to be at a state management. So this is the state management. So they will tell you update app state. So that's what we want. We want to click on that expand button, and we wanted to go to the app state and change this value from 150 to 390 because sorry, I have made some mistake, so I will go back. So what I want you to do is that want to understand actually is that if you click on this button, I want to change the width of that container. So that's what we are going to do. So we have select the button, we have to select the up state, and they will ask you for a field. So the only field we have is width, and it is an integer, which is a number, and they want, or you want to change the update type. Do you want to clear the value to increment or decrement, or set the value? You want to, or you will have to set the value, because you want I will give it a value that it will have to store inside this app state. So as I told you, expand means that this container will take the full width of the screen, and the full width of the screen is 390, and all I have to do is to put it here. And this don't expand button will check it from this width to this place right here. So I don't want to add the same action. Instead, I want to click on this three dots and copy the action. Go to don't expand button and go to the action and paste the action. But this time, if I click on this button, I'm not going to give it 390. Instead, I want to give it, for example, let's say 60. So we want to shrink it a little bit. So let's try that and see if it's work. So now let's try. So we are going to expand it. So it is already expanded. But if I click on dot expand, so it shrinks. That's what I want, and I want it to be a little bit wider than that. So I can give it, for example, 75 or 80. So I will go to this button, which is responsible, and I will get or give, for example, 75, and then I will load it and see if it is working. So you need to understand that these buttons are what are changing this app state. So we are changing the app state, and once we made a change inside the app state, it automatically changes the width of the container, because it is the width of the container is related to that app state. So just watch this tutorial over and over again and try it yourself, and then you will understand. So let's try that. So at the beginning they give you this value, because inside the app state we give this random value. So just for the next reload, we want that container to take the full width of the screen. So let's try to expand it. So we expanded that, and let's try to not expand it. So it's still, or I think it still have to be a little bit wider. So that's the final thing we are going to change here. So don't expand. I will give it like 90. So that's enough. So I will also change this. So at the beginning we will have the container taking the full width of the screen. So let's try this now. So now at the beginning, so they give you the full width of screens, which is this change we have made here. So if I click on expand, it is already expanded. If I click on don't expand, so this is called expand. Don't expand, you can run with that. So I hope you have understood that very well. So this is what you need to understand, which is the action part of each button. So each button gives that app state, or set the value of that app state to a certain value. So this one is 90 and this one is 390. So I think this is all you need to understand. So we still have this issue. So if we took this container to this width, we want to hide these text, we want to hide them. That's what we call conditional visibility. So this, if you want this to show up, then something must be. So let's try that. So you will select that widget and go to its visibility, and you will turn on the conditional. So if you want it to show up, then a condition must be there. So that's what we mean by a conditional visibility. So they will tell you that it is unset, there is no condition to fix this this visibility on. So let's click on unset and let's set it. So this is a condition. So it's an opportunity for you to understand what conditions are. So single condition, let's make it single. So if you want this to show up, so what do we want? We want this to show up only if that container was wider. So if that container was taking the full width of the screen, then we can show them. But if it wasn't, then they will not show up. So that's good. So this is what we are going to do. So the first value, which is the app state, so the width of that container, so I'm going to confirm, equals to a certain value. So if that width of that container was equals to 390, then we can show them. So, and automatically if it wasn't, actually if that or if the width of that container wasn't equal to 390 exactly, then we are not going to show them at all. So let's try to confirm that, and we are going to reload that, and you will see that it's gonna work. So here we have, so at the beginning, as I told you, it is taking 390 in the width, so for the container, of course. I will expand it, nothing will happen, we don't expand it, and we still have the same issue, of course. So we want to fix that, so we want to reload that, because sometimes even if you make some changes, you may still have some issues. So that's why I highly recommend you try to really reload your projects at least twice. So now let's try that. So it is expanded. Let's not expand it. So the first text actually was successful, but for the last three ones we had some problem, because we have only made the change for the first one. I don't want to copy and paste the same conditions. Instead, I want actually to delete these three texts, and I will duplicate this hello world text with its conditional visibility. So I will go back to widget tree, and this is so as you can see, once you have made a conditional visibility, then you will have this eye icon right here. So here we have all the four rows. So the first row had icon and the text, but the other ones had only icon. So I will duplicate that 3 times, and I will duplicate it again and also again. So we had 3 texts, and we are going to take that from here and put it below this icon, and also this one, check it randomly because that's not a big problem. And we have done that. So we have copied this text with their conditional visibility automatically applied. So we are going to reload that and see if it is working. So now let's try this. Let's click on this don't expand button, and then yes, everything is working. And if we expand that, then they will show up. So this is what we call conditional visibility. And again, this conditional visibility means that this widget will show up only if the width of the container was 390. So that's cool. And actually we can play around with other stuff like you saw in example. So let's do that. Let's have fun with that. So this is the first example, and this is the first example. The first one is this, and row. So let's add something else. So we saw in example. So we had something called divider, which is a spacing between each example I want to add to make a difference. So this they give you the thickness property and also the color. So this is our divider, which will separate our projects. And actually after that divider, I can add a circle image, which is this one, and I want it to be at the middle. And actually I want another 2 buttons. So for that, I'm not going to copy and paste, or I'm not going to build this row again. I can just go here, duplicate that, and I will close it and drag it and drop it below this circle image, and here I have. So I can also go there and actually change from expand to show, and this one will add height. That's what we saw in the example. And actually these buttons had already their action, but I don't want that action to be. I want to delete that action for the first button, and also I want to do that for the second button. Then so here we have something actually new. So I will go back to the app stage, and I will add another update, which is image, but this time it's not going to be a string or an integer, but it's going to be a boolean. A boolean value is actually simple. Boolean means true or false, yes or no. That's what boolean is. So I will create that, and actually that's the image, that's not upstate. And just I want to explain to you what I want. So I want this image right here to show up only if this upstate was true, was if image was true but this time is false. If it was true, then this image will show up. So like how we did with this text, we're going to select that, go to condition visibility, and we're going to say conditions, single condition. So let's click on this one and unset. So we want that if that widget or that actually that upstate was true, so if that image upstate equals to true, then it will show up, and if it doesn't, it will not show up. So that's what we call a conditional visibility, and that's good. So by default you will not see it because it's not true, it's false. So when you begin your app, it's not gonna show up. So let's try it and see if it is working or not. So now we had these buttons, but we don't see the image. It is because we have this upstate which is false, so that we're not going to see that. Instead, if you want to see that, you need to click on this button. And actually, if I click on this button, nothing will show up because there is no action. So I will add an action, and again I will add upstate, which is upstate, and they will ask you for a field. So I'm not going to touch this one because we have worked with that. We had done with that, and I will choose the image, and they will give you what you want to do with that. You want to clear its value, turn it into a null value, or set a value. So we are going to set it to be true. So we will turn that image from false to true, and if that or if you turn it from false to true, which means, and this actually means you will show it. So that's good. And actually, and this button will do the same, but this time this is not going to turn that this upstate from false to true. Instead, it will take it from true to false, which is from showing to hiding. That's what I'm going to do. So I will go to show, copy the action, go to hide. Actually, I will click on hide. I will paste the action, and I will go down. So this hide will not set the value to true. It is going to set to false, which is hiding that image, which is logically what this button actually means. So let's reload that and see if our change were actually applied or not. So now let's try it. Let's show it. So it shows up, and if let's hide it, so it is working. So let me explain to you. So this this show button will go to that upstate, which is this one, by the way. Actually, I went out of that again. Sorry for that. So I will select show. I will go to the action and explain to you what it does. So update. It will go to that to that widget state or upstate. Sorry, it will update that, and it will set the value to true. And if it was true, which means that this image will show up, because this image will show up only if that image or that upstate was true. So if it is true, it will show up, and this is what this button is doing. And if it was false, which is what this button is doing, it will not show up. So that's the logic. So let's add another divider and move on to the third example as we saw. So this divider is pretty cool. So I'll just duplicate that, and actually I will check one and get it down here. So there is a little bit of problem because I have opened all of that. I need to close something to make it a little bit organized. So here we have the first example, and here are our two dividers. So I will take the last one and put it right here. So, and then I can build that third example, which is change the text from hello world or from a random text to Jack or Maria, depending on what you have clicked on. So I will select text, and I will put it on the center, change its width or its font size, sorry, to 50, and then I will duplicate this row. I will duplicate that and just to have another two buttons right here, but with different functionalities. I will select this one and I will clear its actions, so I don't want to work with these actions anymore, so I will delete that. And then I can also change what's inside that. Instead of saying show, I will say jack, and instead of saying hide, I will add, for example, I will add Maria or any name you want. So what do we want is that if I click on Jack, I want to see Jack here. If I click on Maria, then I want to see Maria here. So for that, I will add another update, but this time it's not going to be either a string or an integer. It's gonna be a string, but it's not gonna be a boolean or a number. So let's call it text and keep it string and say create. So they may ask you for a default value, which means that if you have started your app, you might not see Jack or Marie because you haven't clicked on some of them. And that's why it's good to give it a default value to show up when you start your app. So now we are going to do the same we did with this button. So I'm going to click on Jack and go to actions and search for up stage, which is update up stage, but this time we are going to choose the string and we are going to set a value. A value is what's inside that button, which is Jack. I'm going to set that value and make it Jack. And Maria, we are going to do the same, so we are going to go here and we are going to copy that, copy action, go to Maria, actions, paste it, but we're going to set that value from Jack to Maria. And now, do you think it's gonna work? So I want you to answer yourself if it is going to work or not. So the answer is that it's not gonna work because this hello world is a text. So it's a static value. We give it hello world and it's gonna be hello world forever. But if you want to change it depending on what buttons you have clicked on, then you need to click on this one, just like how we did with the width of that container. So let's go back to the container and see its width. So I'll go back to my widget tree and then I will select that container. I will go back to its properties and you see that there is a variable here. It's not a static value like this one, it is a variable. It depends. And also this text should depend on that app stage, of course. So I will select that text and I will remove that, and I will add these variables. I want to take the text from a variable, which is in our case an app stage, which is this one. So I want to take it from here, and this particular app stage will depend. If you click it on Jack, it will become Jack. If you click on Maria, it will become Maria. If you have just started your app, it's not going to be anything. It's going to be just hello world. So let's try that. Let's click on instead of reload and see how things work. So now let's try. So here is the default value we have given here. So you see that this is the hello world and that's what we see here. If I click on Jack, then you will see here Jack, because Jack, what this button does is just this is what you see here. I will go back to Jack and see the button. So here is what it does. It goes to that app stage, which is this one, and it changes its value from the hello world, which is the default value, to Jack. And actually this is what Maria does, but it sets a value to Maria. So let's try it. So Maria will change to Maria, Jack, and so on. Let's verify that. So it shows, it hides, this expands and this don't expand. So I believe it might sound a little bit hard to get and to understand. That's why I highly recommend you get this example from description, because it's hard for you to keep watching this video over and over again, but it's easy for you to get that example, open it on YouTube, just like how I will do right now. If you haven't seen my previous videos, then I will show you why. So you will get it from the link in the description down below, and if you are one of my Patreon members, or yes, you will get it for free. So just become one of my Patreon members and you will get it for free. So here you can, for creating new projects, call it whatever you want and create a blank. So skip it for now. You will have this. So once you have get that exercise, you will have it right here. You will have everything, the actions, everything, the widgets, the conditions, everything. You will find it, and you will just open a new project and start building, drag and drop. Try with yourself to run that many times and go back to this tutorial if you find yourself stuck into a certain thing inside this tutorial, and you will be learning fast. So I highly recommend you get this exercise. It's really important. And actually, the last thing I want to tell you is to become one of my Patreon members, because if you do, you will get a lot of. So actually, so the last thing I want to tell you is to become one of my Patreon members. So if you do that, you will get exclusive templates and the examples that I build with you in this course. You will get it for free, and you will also get all of the replies to all of your requests, comments, and questions. So just become one of these, or become my Patreon member, and you will get a lot of things. So I hope you have enjoyed this video, and don't forget to share this with people. So my goal is to help people learn no code, and I want to build community around this awesome tool called FlutterFlow. So just share this with whoever you want, and then come here to my Patreon page, and you will get a lot of things. So I hope you have learned something useful today. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like this video. So if you do that, thank you so much. And with that said, thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode.